As the tide waters retreat from Puget Sound, nature reveals the water's true gift, life. In the Puget Sound region, water is life. The water feeds the local shellfishing industries, which in turn feed the economy of the Puget Sound region with hundreds of jobs.
I have a good one. What's this one, Daddy?
Okay. Clean water, the water that provides us with a quality of life that's enviable. But as the population of the region increases, so does the threat to our life-giving waters. In recent years, untreated and inadequately treated sewage from failing septic systems have contributed to the contamination of our water resources. As a result, an increasing number of shellfish harvests must be halted, putting people out of work. Beaches are forced to close. And the health of our neighbors, friends, and families has been directly threatened.
Hi, my name is Randy Hoffmeyer. Water quality in the Puget Sound region is a complex issue. As a homeowner, you play an important role in helping to keep our area's water clean and pure. In fact, you may own a tool that's designed to help keep our area's water clean. An on-site sewage treatment and disposal system. Your septic system. Besides contaminating our water resources, a failing septic system can be expensive to repair and very inconvenient. When properly maintained, an on-site sewage system provides not only effective treatment and disposal of household wastes, but it can last indefinitely. Just like you perform preventative maintenance on your car, you need to maintain your on-site sewage system. That's exactly what this video is designed to help you do. In this program, we're going to take a look at how a typical gravity flow on-site sewage system works. You'll find out what causes a system to fail and how to detect the conditions that can lead to failure. In the second half of the show, you'll learn how to inspect your system and how to maintain it so you can avoid problems. A properly maintained system is going to effectively treat your sewage and save you a lot of money and headaches. But before you can learn how to maintain your system, we first have to understand how an on-site sewage system works.
An on-site sewage system is a highly efficient method of wastewater treatment buried in your yard. The system is comprised of three main parts: the septic tank, the drain field, and most importantly, the soil. The septic tank stores and separates out the solids from the wastewater. The drain field disperses the wastewater into the soil, and it's in the soil that the wastewater is naturally treated before it gets into the groundwater. A septic tank in a conventional gravity flow system is a watertight tank commonly constructed out of concrete. In the state of Washington, a two-compartment septic tank is required for all new on-site sewage system installations. Here's how it works. Human waste and wastewater flow by gravity from the house into the first compartment through an inlet T. In this compartment, household wastes separate into three layers. Heavy solids settle to the bottom of the tank to form a sludge layer. The lighter solids, like fat and grease, float up to form the scum layer. This separation process yields a treatable liquid wastewater layer in the center of the compartment. The wastewater flows through T's out of the first compartment and into the second. Here, the separation process is repeated. Finally, the partially treated wastewater flows out of the septic tank and down to the drain field. It's vital that a septic tank have undamaged T'd inlets and outlets. In a properly maintained system, these simple devices keep solid wastes from clogging up the system, and as we'll see later, they make it easier to inspect the tank.
To get a closer look at an on-site sewage system, we're here with Ron Gold of RG Forestry Consultants, whose company has just installed a new system. Ron, why don't you describe the installation here?
Well, what we have here is a 1,200-gallon tank with 120 feet of drain field. The tank comprises of a two-compartment system, and the way it works is that the material comes from the house, it falls into the first chamber, the solids stay in there, and the liquid's working its way to the second chamber, then to the distribution box, and equally distribute through the drain field.
Now, how long does an installation like this usually take?
Normally around 2 days.
Now, does that depend some on weather conditions?
It has a lot to do with weather conditions. If you try to put a system in when it's wet, you stand a chance of soil compaction and a possibility of system failure at a later time.
Well, that's an important consideration. Let's take a closer look at a drain field.
The drain field is comprised of a distribution box and a large fork of PVC pipe set in gravel-filled trenches. Each end of the fork is capped. The pipe itself is perforated with tiny holes to allow the wastewater to pass through and enter the ground. Here's how it works. Wastewater flows from the septic tank down to the drain field, where it enters the distribution box. This box distributes wastewater to each tine of the fork. Once in the drain field, the wastewater percolates into the soil, where natural filtering and biological actions cleanse the liquid before it reaches the water table. The state of Washington requires that there be a minimum of 3 feet of proper soil between the drain field and the water table.
Ron, how was the determination made to install this size of a drain field?
Well, the two main factors, the amount of bedrooms and soil type.
Why the amount of bedrooms?
Well, the amount of bedrooms is a pretty good indication of how much water use per day.
Oh, I see. And then soil type is the other important consideration.
Soil type gives a pretty good indication of how well the soil drains.
The more restrictive, then the longer the drain field.
Correct.
Now, what kind of soils have we got down here?
What we have here is kind of a sandy loam with a little bit of gravel mixed in.
So this is good for a drain field.
It's excellent.
Now, I would imagine with all the rain we get in the winter that the groundwater level can change dramatically. And if any of the wastewater gets into the groundwater, then it could get into the wells. So how do you check for seasonal groundwater fluctuation?
Well, ideally, you would have test holes in the wintertime during the wettest period. Another good indicator is actually the soil color. That gives a pretty good indication of how well drained the soils are.
And if the soil is too restrictive, then you have to move to a different design, right?
Correct.
If you don't have the right conditions for a conventional gravity flow system, there are other alternative systems. Chief among these are pressure distribution systems, mound systems, and sand filter systems. Essentially, they work the same way as a gravity flow system, with the addition of a pump and modified drain fields and pre-drain field filters. Your local health department can provide you with additional information about these systems. Now that we know how an on-site sewage system works, it's important to know how a system fails. And more importantly, what are the warning signs to look for? Most simply put, if any part of your septic system is discharging untreated wastewater onto the surface of the ground into a waterway or into the groundwater, your system is failing to effectively treat your household wastes. While there are various reasons that failure can occur, it most commonly happens when a portion of your system, or even the soil itself, become clogged with waste solids. If the structure of your soil changes due to compaction or clogging, you have an expensive problem on your hands. Problems of this magnitude will require the installation of a new drain field in your reserve drain field site. Here are several warning signs to look for. Offensive or foul odors can indicate that untreated wastewater is pooling above ground. This condition not only breeds disease-carrying insects, but is a direct threat to the health of children or animals that might play in the area. Another possible sign is the excessive growth of lush, green, water-loving plants, like buttercups or bulrushes, in the area of your septic tank or drain field. Slow drains might also be a sign of blockage in your tank, drain field, or both. If you notice any of these warning signs, it's possible that your system is going to need a major overhaul, or possibly even replacement. And this can be very costly. The best way to avoid these problems is to maintain a healthy system from the beginning. And that's what our next section is all about. At the beginning of the show, I said that a home septic system is a highly effective, long-term wastewater treatment system. Now, the key to long-term effectiveness is simple, routine maintenance and prudent use of your system. We're at the home of Kent and Nita Clisby. 3 years ago, the Clisbys moved here to rural Mason County. Now, they know the house is connected to a septic system and that it was pumped just before they moved in. They have records indicating the placement of their system. They have a gravity flow system with a required 2-chamber septic tank. Bill Wallace of CP Septic Pumping is going to examine the tank and see what condition it's in. Bill, I understand the Clisbys have a written plan indicating the placement and type of their on-site sewage system.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is the septic tank located?
Over next to the house. It's a 2-compartment tank. The drain field is about 75 feet from the tank, and they have plenty of reserve area should this system ever fail.
Well, we know it meets at least two of the state's requirements then, a double compartment septic tank and a reserve area for a replacement drain field.
That's right.
Now, I understand that Kent has uncovered all the manholes, so let's go take a look. Bill, what exactly are you going to be inspecting?
The layer of the sludge on the bottom of the tank, the scum depth on the top, the baffles to see if there's still good working order.
Now, when you're inspecting a tank, are there any safety precautions?
Yes, never crawl inside the tank, and when you're removing the covers, watch it, they're awful heavy.
Oh, okay, great. So while Bill inspects the tank, we're going to take an inside look at how it's done. Now, the tools are quite simple. To measure the scum layer, you can use a long stick with a hinge device at the end. To measure the sludge layer, you can use a long stick with a white terry cloth towel secured to the end. Now, the other tools are a pen, measuring tape, and a small scrap of 2x4.
To measure the scum layer, the hinged stick is inserted through the manhole opening located at the outflow side of the first compartment. After the hinge drops, lift the stick slowly until you feel the resistance of the scum layer. This is where the 2x4 and marker come into play. The 2x4, placed across the opening of the manhole, will serve as a constant reference. At the point of resistance, make a small mark on the stick just above the 2x4. Next, insert the stick to determine the bottom of the outgoing T. Once you find the bottom of the T, make another mark on the stick, again using the 2x4 as your reference. Now, retrieve the stick and measure the distance between the two marks. This is the distance between the bottom of the scum layer and the bottom part of the T. If the distance is 3 inches or less, your tank needs to be pumped. You also need to pump if the top of the scum layer is within an inch from the top of the outlet T. Now, it's important to save the scum measuring stick because you'll need it later as a reference for measuring the sludge layer. To determine the sludge layer, insert the stick with the terry cloth wrap through the T and down into the sludge. By inserting it through the T, you can avoid passing the swab end through the scum layer. Let the swab rest for a few minutes to ensure that the sludge adheres to the terry cloth. Now, mark the stick using the 2x4 as your reference to indicate the bottom of the tank. Once you've made your mark and saturated the cloth, remove the stick. Note the dark stain on the cloth indicating the sludge layer. Place the scum stick next to the sludge stick, lining up the two upper marks. By measuring from the bottom of the scum stick to the top of the sludge stain, you can determine the distance between the top of the sludge and the bottom of the outflow T. If the distance is 12 inches or less, your tank needs to be pumped.
Well, Bill, how does it look?
By all indication, it needs to be pumped.
Well, what happens if it doesn't get pumped?
The solids could travel out to the drain fields, and it could be a very costly situation to fix.
So, you ready to pump?
You bet.
Knowing where your system is located, inspecting your tank once a year, and pumping when needed, generally every 3 to 5 years, are important steps to ensure a long life for your septic system. Now, there are other steps, however, that are just as important. Protecting your system from damage and using it wisely. Once you know where your tank, drain field, and reserve drain field are located, it's important to protect them. Never drive heavy equipment like cars or trucks over your drain field. The weight can break the pipes and compact your soil, causing your system to fail. When landscaping, make sure that what you plant is compatible with your drain field. Roots can damage pipes. Construction over your drain field, or even laying plastic or concrete, can cut off the supply of oxygen to your soil. This lack of oxygen reduces the ability of the soil to properly cleanse wastewater from your system. Grass is the best cover for your drain field.
Never use septic tank additives. Not only do these products not work, but some have been shown to be harmful. These products are definitely not recommended. The natural processes of your septic tank, drain field, and soil are perfect for effective wastewater treatment. Be careful what you put into your system. Definitely avoid putting grease in the septic tank. It builds up quickly. A garbage disposal greatly increases the amount of solid material in your septic tank. If you have a garbage disposal in your sink, use it as little as possible. Remember, nothing is a substitute for pumping your tank when needed. Practice water conservation. The more water you pump through your system, the more stress you put on your system. This means simply using common sense. Wash only full loads of clothes, and distribute your washing throughout the week so you don't shock the system.
Take quick showers instead of baths. Fix leaky fixtures, and lower the water reservoir in your toilet. These simple practices will greatly extend the life of your system. Plastic products and other materials can clog your system, and repairing a clogged on-site sewage system can be expensive. Finally, divert water runoff and roof drainage away from your drain field. The addition of extra water to your drain field area will lead to saturation. And when the soil becomes saturated, it can no longer effectively treat wastewater. In this video, we've looked at how septic systems work, how they fail, and the warning signs for detecting failure. We've seen how to inspect a septic tank for pumping and have outlined important steps that you can take to increase the life of your system. Well, it's easy to understand how an on-site sewage system can be ignored, out of sight, out of mind. But the importance of a well-maintained system is obvious. By following the preventative maintenance steps outlined in this program, you'll not only be saving yourself a lot of costly repairs, but you'll be doing your part to preserve our clean water resources.
Clean water means we can drink our well water, free of contamination. Clean water means that recreational and commercial shellfishing will remain safe and abundant. Clean water means future generations will be able to enjoy the precious waters of the Puget Sound region. For more information about on-site sewage systems, alternative on-site sewage designs, and proper system maintenance, contact your local health department.
If you'd like a copy of this video, call the Mason County Office of Water Quality at 1-800-562-5628.